It all started with a simple Craigslist ad-free couch. Great condition. Must pick up today. Sarah had just moved into her new apartment and needed furniture. The couch looked perfect in the photo. A sleek, modern design in neutral tones. She messaged the seller immediately and arranged to pick it up that afternoon. The seller, a man named Greg, lived in a quiet, suburban neighborhood. When Sarah arrived, Greg was waiting outside with the couch already loaded onto a trailer. He seemed friendly enough, though a little off. His eyes darted around nervously, and he kept glancing over his shoulder, as if expecting someone to show up. "Thanks for taking this off my hands. I need it gone today." Sarah didn't think much of it. She was too excited about her new couch. She helped Greg load it into her truck, thanked him, and drove home. The couch fit perfectly in her living room, and she spent the rest of the day admiring her find. But that night, something felt off. Sarah woke up around 3 a.m., her heart racing. She didn't know what had woken her, but the room felt colder than usual. She sat up, rubbing her arms, and glanced at the couch. It looked normal in the moonlight, but something about it made her skin crawl. But as the days passed, the strange occurrences grew more frequent. She would wake up to find the cushions rearranged, even though she was sure she hadn't touched them. Sometimes she would hear faint whispers coming from the couch, low and guttural, like someone was speaking just out of earshot. One night, Sarah decided to investigate. She sat on the couch, her phone in hand, and recorded the room. She left the camera running and went to bed, determined to catch whatever was causing the disturbances. The next morning, she reviewed the footage. At first, there was nothing unusual, just the empty living room bathed in the faint glow of the streetlights. But around 3 a.m., the cushions began to shift on their own, as if someone was sitting down. Sarah's blood ran cold as she watched the footage. The whispers started shortly after, growing louder and more frantic. She fast-forwarded to the end of the video and froze. The camera had captured a figure sitting on the couch, its face obscured by shadows. It turned to look directly at the camera, its hollow eyes staring into hers. Sarah's hands trembled as she deleted the video, her mind racing. She didn't know what to do. She thought about getting rid of the couch, but something stopped her. She felt drawn to it, as if it were calling to her. That night, Sarah woke up to the sound of the whispers again. They were louder this time, more insistent. She sat up, her heart pounding, and glanced at the couch. The figure was there again, its face still obscured, but its presence was undeniable. "Sarah, come closer." Sarah tried to resist, but she couldn't. She got out of bed and walked toward the couch, her movements slow and deliberate. The whispers grew louder, more frantic, as she reached out and touched the cushions. The room went silent. The figure was gone, but Sarah could feel its presence lingering in the air. The next day, Sarah called a friend and told her everything. Together, they dragged the couch out to the curb and left it there. Sarah didn't care if someone else took it. She just wanted it gone. But that night, she woke up to the sound of the whispers again. She sat up, her heart racing, and glanced at the living room. The couch was back, sitting in its usual spot, as if it had never been moved. Sarah's blood ran cold. She didn't know what to do. She thought about calling Greg, but when she searched for his number, it had been disconnected. She tried to find the Craigslist ad, but it had been deleted. To this day, Sarah still has the couch. She's tried to get rid of it multiple times, but it always comes back. And sometimes, when she's alone, she hears the whispers again, low and insistent, calling her name. When Alex posted an ad on Craigslist looking for a roommate, he didn't expect much. His apartment was small and the rent was high, but he needed someone to help cover the costs. The ad was simple. Roommate wanted. $500 a month. The responses were slow at first, but then he got a message from a guy named Jake. Jake seemed perfect, polite, easygoing, and willing to move in immediately. They arranged to meet at the apartment, and Jake showed up right on time. He was tall and lean, with a friendly smile and a firm handshake. Alex liked him immediately. Jake moved in the next day, bringing only a single suitcase and a laptop. He was quiet and kept to himself, which suited Alex just fine. For the first few days, everything was great. Jake paid his share of the rent on time, kept the place clean, and even cooked dinner a few times. But then, things started to get weird. Alex began to notice small things, like how Jake never seemed to sleep. He would hear him moving around the apartment at all hours of the night. But whenever Alex checked, Jake's room was empty. The door would be closed, the lights off, and the bed neatly made. One night, Alex woke up to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. He sat up, his heart pounding, and glanced at the clock. It was 3 a.m. He listened for a moment, but the footsteps had stopped. He got out of bed and opened his door, peeking into the hallway. It was empty. "Jake?" he called out, his voice trembling. There was no response. Alex walked down the hallway and knocked on Jake's door. "Jake, are you okay?" Again, no response. Alex tried the doorknob, but it was locked. He pressed his ear against the door, listening for any sound, but there was nothing. Just silence. The next morning, Alex asked Jake about it. "Did you hear anything last night?" "I thought I heard footsteps." Jake shook his head, his expression blank. "I was asleep all night. Maybe it was just the building settling." Alex nodded, but he wasn't convinced. Something about Jake's demeanor was off. His eyes were hollow, his smile too wide. Alex tried to brush it off, but the strange occurrences continued. A few nights later, Alex woke up to the sound of whispering. It was coming from Jake's room. He got out of bed and crept down the hallway, his heart pounding. The door was slightly ajar, and he could see Jake sitting on the bed, his back to the door. He was whispering to himself, his voice low and guttural. Alex pushed the door open, his hands trembling. "Jake? What are you doing?" Jake didn't respond. He just kept whispering, his voice growing louder and more frantic. Alex stepped closer, his heart racing. That's when he saw it. Jake's reflection in the mirror. It wasn't him. The figure in the mirror was tall and thin, its face obscured by shadows. Its eyes were hollow, its smile too wide. It turned to look at Alex, its head tilting unnaturally. Alex screamed, stumbling backward. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice calm. Alex didn't answer. He just ran out of the apartment, his heart pounding. He didn't stop until he was miles away. The image of the figure in the mirror burned into his mind. The next day, Alex returned to the apartment, determined to confront Jake. But when he opened the door, the apartment was empty. Jake's room was spotless, the bed neatly made, and his suitcase gone. It was as if he had never been there. Alex searched the apartment, but there was no sign of Jake. He called the number Jake had given him, but it was disconnected. He tried to find the Craigslist ad, but it had been deleted. To this day, Alex doesn't know what happened to Jake. But sometimes, when he's alone in the apartment, he hears the whispers again, low and insistent, coming from the empty room. It was a rainy Tuesday night when Mia stumbled across the listing on Craigslist. She had been scrolling through the free section, looking for furniture for her new apartment, when she saw it. Antique vanity mirror. Free. Must pick up tonight. The photo showed a stunning, ornate mirror with a gilded frame, its surface gleaming under the soft light of a chandelier. Mia couldn't resist. She messaged the seller immediately and arranged to pick it up that same evening. The seller, a woman named Evelyn, lived in an old, run-down house on the edge of town. When Mia arrived, Evelyn was waiting for her on the porch, her face pale and drawn. She didn't say much as she helped Mia load the mirror into her car, but as Mia was about to leave, Evelyn grabbed her arm. "Be careful with it." Mia brushed off the warning, chalking it up to Evelyn's eccentricity. She was too excited about her new find to worry about cryptic comments. When she got home, she placed the mirror in her bedroom, admiring its craftsmanship. It was the perfect addition to her vintage-themed decor. Mia woke up around 2 a.m., her heart pounding. She didn't know what had woken her, but the room felt colder than usual. She sat up, rubbing her arms, and glanced at the mirror. Her reflection stared back at her, but something was wrong. Her reflection was smiling. Mia froze, her breath catching in her throat. She wasn't smiling. She was wide-eyed, her face pale with fear. But in the mirror, her reflection grinned back at her, its eyes dark and hollow. She blinked, and the reflection returned to normal. She told herself it was just a trick of the light, a product of her half-asleep mind. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. The next day, Mia tried to brush off the incident. She went about her routine, but the mirror seemed to loom in the corner of her room, its presence unnerving. That night, she decided to cover it with a sheet before going to bed. But when she woke up the next morning, the sheet was on the floor, neatly folded at the base of the mirror. Mia's stomach churned. She hadn't touched the sheet. She was sure of it. She grabbed her phone and texted her best friend, Jess, asking if she could come over. She needed someone else to see this. Jess arrived that afternoon, and Mia explained everything. Jess, ever the skeptic, laughed it off. "It's just a mirror, Mia. You're probably just stressed from work." But as the day turned to night, even Jess began to feel uneasy. They sat on Mia's bed, staring at the mirror. The room was silent, the air thick with tension. And then, they saw it. Mia's reflection moved on its own. It tilted its head, its smile widening unnaturally. What the hell is that? Her reflection stepped closer, its hand pressing against the glass. The surface rippled like water, and the reflection began to climb out. Mia and Jess scrambled off the bed, backing away as the figure emerged from the mirror. "Get out." Mia and Jess didn't need to be told twice. They ran out of the apartment, not stopping until they were safely in Jess's car. Mia called the police, but when they arrived, the mirror was gone. The apartment was empty, as if it had never been there. Mia never went back to her apartment. She moved in with Jess and tried to forget about the mirror. But sometimes, when she's alone, she catches a glimpse of her reflection out of the corner of her eye. And it's always smiling. And there you have it. 3 chilling Craigslist horror stories that will make you think twice before clicking reply. From cursed furniture to vanishing roommates and mirrors that shouldn't exist, these tales remind us that some deals come with a price far greater than money. But here's the thing, these stories aren't just meant to scare you. They're a reminder that the world is full of mysteries we can't explain. So the next time you're scrolling through Craigslist, remember, not everything is as it seems. If these stories gave you chills, don't forget to hit that like button and let me know in the comments which one creeped you out the most. Was it the couch, the roommate, or the mirror? Share this video with your friends who love a good scare, and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a spine-tingling story. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you find something you weren't supposed to, leave it alone. Stay curious, stay scared, and I'll see you in the next